Stop it. I'm trying to be serious.
You're not doing it very
A
good.
bland frog and a silly goose. You bastard. Alright, you ready?
Okay.
Hey everyone, it's Michelle.
I'm Billy.
And this is Chronically Bookish. We are back.
Finally.
Yay! It's been a bit of a crappy month for us. So we haven't really been on YouTube or on Instagram, but we're hoping to jump out of that funk now. Please excuse the building noise you can hear. We've got someone drilling, sawing, doing whatever very close to us.
Yeah.
Someone's getting a new bathroom, lucky them. But today we are going to be doing our April wrap up.
Just a little bit later.
I think it's, what is the date?
21st, I think.
It's the 20-something of May. We're late to the party, but we're still here. I only read one book.
In April?
In April.
I read a few more.
Billy read like 7 or 8. Was it that many?
I can't remember.
It was quite a few.
We
You
will
will find out.
But yeah, should we start off with the one we both read?
Yeah, so the book I read was a book that I was co-listening to with Billy. Codependency? No. I'm sorry. It was The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle / 7.5 Deaths, or is it?
Yeah.
7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle.
Depending on which edition you get.
Yeah, where you're from, which one is in your country.
And it's written by, what's his name?
Hold on.
Stuart Turton.
Handy dandy.
It's
Is
Stuart.
it?
Yeah. I just had a sudden blank. But yeah. It's fine. I know who it...
It is Stuart Turton.
Yes.
So we listened to the audiobook through Audible.
Yeah, which was great.
It was really good. It
read
was
by Jock Davies.
It was so well read. Like, if you put aside the content of the book for a moment, I really liked the way he read it. There was so many different characters, and it felt like a lot of different people were there reading it, so he did a really excellent job.
Yeah. So the basic premise of the book, it is complicated, but sort of very, very broadly speaking, we've got a guy who wakes up in a body and he doesn't know who he is or where he is. He has no memories at all.
Not even his name.
What's going on. Yeah. Nothing at all. And you find out what?
Sorry, he has one memory, a name. Not his own name, but he has one memory, which is someone else's name.
Yes. So that's the only thing he knows is Anna. And we go through the same day, but he lives it in different bodies.
Yeah, and different people. Yeah.
So he will, so I mean...
Oh, it's so complicated.
It's a murder mystery. It's very much like Groundhog Day meets Agatha Christie.
Yes, that's exactly how I would describe it. Because you've got it's very complex. I think it's quite a difficult book to pin down a description of it if you're trying to tell someone about it. But I really love this book, so I want more people to read it. It's super popular right now because it was released not long ago. But it's a murder mystery, and like Billy said, he's living the same day over and over again. He's trying to solve the murder. So he's doing it through a bunch of different people. He doesn't know exactly who are his allies, who's working against him. There's a lot of that kind of thing going on. When you first start reading it, and this would have bothered me if it wasn't so interesting, is you don't really have any idea what's going on. And normally that upsets me, but because it was so weird and so intriguing, I was like, I don't even care. I just want to hear more about it. There's lots of questions you'll have come up along the way, and you have to get to the end, basically, to get them answered. I don't know exactly what else to say about it, because there are so many elements that maybe you can't say without...
Yeah, but I think mainly my main takeaway from it was that it was so intricately written.
Oh my God.
You got the sense that he knew every single detail.
He did, yeah.
About what was going to happen in that day. So it's just this one day
played over and over from different perspectives.
Yeah, and it's not repetitive, even though that sounds like it's repetitive. It doesn't get repetitive. You don't do the same thing over and over again.
No.
You don't, you'll get new information every single time.
And I think that's what's really clever about the way he wrote it, because obviously, same day, different characters, you would assume, okay, we're just going to play out the same scenes over and over again. And in fact, it wasn't even that, because you're looking at, if you think about it, different people who are living the same day, are going to have different interpretations, but also are going to have different conversations with different people, going to be in different places at different times. And what was really fascinating was how this was written, like we were just saying. He basically knew exactly what was happening, and for me, in my mind, I thought, how could you know this amount of detail? He must, for me, it's like he's worked backwards. He knew what was happening, and he's worked backwards to get there.
Yeah.
It was so well written, it's crazy. There is a few moments in it where I was thinking, oh, does that make sense? You have to think about the rules of the world that he's set up, which are very specific, and at times I was like, hold on a minute, how does that work?
Yeah. Like we had a few moments where where we would stop the book and just like talk it through and say,
like, hold on,
okay, hold on, how does that work?
Like that?
Yeah.
And how would that be like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
But I think that kind of made the book really interesting, and I want to read it / listen to it again, whichever way I go with it. I want to do it again, because now I know what's happening. I want to see, it's like going back through... It's
going to be a brilliant reread.
Yeah, it's like going back through an Agatha Christie movie or episode and seeing all the things that you missed in the beginning that were like, I know that this thing points to this, so...
The other thing I loved that he did was that you'll have the main character, well, not the main character, but Evelyn Hardcastle, and he will interact with her in different people, and based on who he's inhabiting, he will have a different experience of that person.
Yes.
And I thought that was like brilliant.
It's so clever.
And everyone around him as well. So, like depending on who he was, whether he was like a servant or somebody, a guest, or, like depending on who he was.
How she treated them.
Well, not just her, but I just mean like all the characters, all the people in the house.
Yeah.
How they interacted with him. Based on who he's wearing, kind of thing. Yeah.
So all these different people that he's living the day through, it's very fascinating. So you get to see quite an interesting class system, of the very wealthy, and even how they're treating each other based on, quite terrible things, whereas they're looking at, the butlers and the servants with like disdain,
There's not very many very likable characters. There's only a few. Yeah.
Although I think what's really good about this writing as well is that he made people human, even when they were doing terrible things, which I really appreciate. So we both read that book. That is the only red-eye book in... book I read in April. Yeah. So...
But that one took us... Actually, it didn't take us that long to get through.
No, because I really wanted to listen to it.
Powered through it.
It was like, in the car, put it on. Yeah. Have a bit of downtime here, put it on. At night, put it on again. So it was a lot of fun, and you should definitely read / listen to it.
Yeah, so that one.
Yeah.
Then I have like a whole list of books that I probably won't go into too much detail about. A lot of them that I read were... short, because I was really in the mood for short, like just easy bite-sized stories. A few of them were children's books. I read The Little Prince, which I realized I hadn't actually read all the way through.
Excuse me.
Oh, you tell
Sorry.
me.
It's okay.
Which was super fun. I loved it so much. I read, let me get my little list out from Goodreads.
I think you definitely hopped on the
Yes. No? Gone blank.
Sorry. All good.
I read The Twits by Roald Dahl, which I hadn't read before either, which was super fun to relive that as an adult. Like to relive Roald Dahl fresh as an adult.
Because I read Roald Dahl apparently when I was younger, and I don't actually remember it. So I would love to do it again through the eyes of an adult, not a child. I
started reading or listening to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy
That's what
series.
I was going to say. He got very immersed in Hitchhiker's series.
Yes.
Over the past
Which I cannot believe that I haven't picked up before, but I didn't. And it's very Terry Pratchett.
Lots of people.
Terry Pratchett is very Douglas Adams. But it's funny, it's science fiction, it's
one of those
exploring the space, it's super fun.
Yeah, it's one of those books that my parents love, heaps of other people talk about. Yeah. It's like one of those things that are on your list and you go, yeah, I really want to read it, and then for some reason
you don't really get around to it.
Yeah. So it happened for you. Yay.
So I read the first, second and third, I think, in April. What are we talking about?
Yes.
I read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe.
Yeah.
Life, the Universe and Everything, and I think that was... Oh no, sorry. That I read in May. Anyway, so I read the first two. Brilliant. Loved them. I've since read the rest of them.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say if you haven't read Hitchhiker's Guide, you'd probably love it if you really like Terry Pratchett. Or other kind of comedy, fantasy...
Doctor Who.
Genres.
You know, stuff like science fiction.
Yeah.
A lot of ridiculousness. And
what I like is like it seems to be comedy with sci-fi, which I prefer over, which is funny. I prefer over very heavy sci-fi.
Yeah.
In particular sci-fi.
Yeah.
I like heavy other stuff, but
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. The only non-fiction book that I read in April that I can see is Amateur by Thomas Page McBee, which is so he's a trans man. And it's his telling
he's the boxer.
Well, what he does is he elects to go into this boxing competition, even though he's never boxed before. So it's an amateur boxing competition for charity. So he, so he trains, and it's this. It's him telling the process of just coming to terms with the mindset of hitting somebody else in the face that you have absolutely nothing against.
Yeah.
So for him, that was a big
problem
issue for him of how do I get over this thing of actually punching somebody in the face? And I'm not a fan of boxing or fighting, or I just think it's pretty barbaric. But having said that, I can fully appreciate, and I really, really loved the way he wrote about boxing. It was much more beautiful and much more humane than I'd ever given it credit for before. Not to say that I'm a fan of boxing now, or I'll ever be
I think there's
watching it or anything.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a beauty in how he wrote about his coming. I mean, he talked a lot about masculinity and identity and things like that, which I can relate to for sure. But yeah, I really did enjoy that a lot.
I think what's good about a good writer, what you can see as someone who is a good writer, is someone who can show you a perspective on something that maybe isn't something you necessarily like.
Absolutely.
Or you're super interested in. I'm not a fan of boxing either. I can understand a lot of the athleticism and training that goes into it, and the kind of sport of being able to train and do this technique, for example, but I'm just not a fan of people hitting each other for sport. It's not really my thing.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to say about writers that can really bring something to life, even if you're not a huge fan of it. So that's good.
No, absolutely, and that's what I was sort of more what I'm getting at is that he's a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
If I put aside the boxing, which it's not a book about like boxing.
It's about him, right?
It's about him. It's about, again, like him coming to a sort of more comfortable place with him being in the world and how he relates to people and how he relates to men in particular, and how to navigate those sort of very male type spaces like boxing rings. You know, typically there's a lot of men there. I mean, obviously
Most
there's a lot of female boxers, but
most sports.
yeah, of course he's around a lot of men, and he was talking about how men don't really touch each other, and this is sort of a way to touch each other. Like, yeah, so I was really interested, very, very interested, and I really enjoyed it very much. So that was the only non-fiction book that I read.
Yeah.
The other sort of more notable books that I read The Story of Antigone by Ali Smith. So it's sort of a it's the story of obviously it's the story of Antigone, who is the daughter of Oedipus.
Yeah.
In Greek mythology.
Is it kind of like another retelling?
It's a retelling for a slightly younger audience. So it's
a lot
more
of
YA.
Greek myths, retellings, and stories. It's
absolutely.
very popular.
Which I'm loving, because I love Greek mythology.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
So I'm just eating that up. At the moment, I'm listening to I'll take that, and I'll have that. Also a bit of that. Yeah. So at the moment, I'm listening to The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, who did Circe.
We have a Song of Achilles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm listening to that.
Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. Very much enjoyed it. I don't actually know a huge amount about Antigone. I read Mythos, so I heard about her through Mythos and Heroes by Stephen Fry. But yeah, so this was she's an interesting lady.
A lady.
So yeah, no, she was very interesting.
Yeah.
It's all about how her brother died and the king refuses to give him a proper funeral. And so she's like, no, not having that, that's not acceptable. You've just deemed him as a traitor, you know.
Sure.
So very interesting. Yeah, really cool.
Nice.
So that was that. That was also a short one.
Yeah. You read quite a few, I remember.
Yeah. I read Sail Away by Celia Imrie.
Celia
Imrie, who's a British actress. I didn't love it that much. It wasn't terrible. I didn't love it as much because I found I have problems reading books with difficult main characters.
Oh yes, is this the one about the play?
The fraud
the
and
play?
Yeah. So it's
bunch of
we
actors.
follow two women. One's an actress, and she's sort of in her 60s, and she can't get any work anymore. There's no jobs for 60-year-old women out there, and so she takes this job they're going to be performing Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde over in Germany, I think it is.
Okay, yep.
I think it's Germany.
And they're British, are they?
And they're all English actors that go over. Apparently this is a thing where they get English actors to come over in different parts of Europe and do these plays very cheap. Anyway, so there's this whole like massive mess happens, and this and that, and you know, to go through it is just there's a lot that happens. But I just found it really infuriating because there's one particular thing that the main character doesn't let go of, and I'm like, it's obvious to me, and she's like, oh, but I don't know, and I'm like, oh, just
in the face of a lot of information, she continues to take a particular stance on something that will give away the book, but on this particular thing, I didn't read it. Billy told me about it. Didn't sound like something I would like to read, so I know all about it as well.
So then the other main character is, again, like, you know, a series of unfortunate events, you know, like that kind of thing, where like this happens, and then that happens, and then that leads to that, and then
over and over.
Look, that part I don't mind too much, but then she as well infuriated me because she didn't have any, like, oomph to her, like to say no and put her foot down and stand up for herself. And I was like, it's just, I understand, but it's so infuriating for me to read characters like that.
Definitely. I have a problem with unlikable characters as well. It takes a lot more effort.
They're not actually meant to be unlikable. I just couldn't
No,
get
but
on
I'm
with
saying,
them.
like, characters that you don't particularly like is a tough, it's a tough read.
Yeah, for me. A lot of people, it doesn't matter to them.
It matters to me.
And they enjoy it and they really love it.
No.
I can't get on.
Yeah, it bothers me.
So that was that one. Then we've got The Grace Keepers by Kirsty Logan, which I really loved.
I need to read it.
Even more than The Gloaming, and I really did love The Gloaming, but I really loved The Grace Keepers. So we've got a world where it's basically been divided into landlockers and oh no, my mind's gone blank. What are they called? Damplings. Damplings. So they live on boats, the Damplings, and the landlockers, clearly, they live on land. And they're meant to be, you know, wealthy and affluent because they can afford land and houses and things like that. Which is, the world has basically been flooded, so there's very little land left.
Right, so you have to be the affluent, wealthy, resourceful types to get the land.
To get land,
yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're a Dampling, you're like working class, you're scum, and the two, there's a big rivalry between the two, as you can.
Of course, yeah. Is it? It's not dystopian.
Well, I mean, it is in that sense that
elements of dystopia.
But it's not dark and depressing and horrible like a lot of dystopians are.
Because I remember you saying this kind of description to me before, and I would keep getting surprised. But then I have to remember that a lot of dystopians that are just dystopian, like that's their thing, that's their genre. They tend to be a bit more depressing. Yeah.
So this one is not. This one I really loved. We follow North, who is the bear girl. So she has a bear. On the circus.
Cool.
It's
like
the circus
Lyra.
boat. Yeah, like Lyra.
Yeah.
From Northern Lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she has a bear that she's trained, that she does an act with, or several different acts, and there's very interesting politics about like revivalist boats, which are religious, fanatical boats, and then we've got. Gracekeeper. Oh no, I'm forgetting everything.
He read a lot of books.
I read a lot of books.
A lot of books. I only read the one. So I can talk about it pretty well. No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Kalanish, that's right, because it's an odd name, Kalanish. So she's what's called a Gracekeeper, and she basically does, she's kind of like, funeral home. She performs funeral rites and burials and stuff so people.
What is that called?
Something. That thing that I've forgotten again. I don't have words today. So she is a Gracekeeper. Gracekeepers are people that have committed some crime or done something, and they've had to be, and they are exiled basically, and they live alone on this little island, and people bring their dead to them, and they perform this ritual with gracelings, which are birds. Anyway, blah blah blah.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. It's very, very cool. I love Kirsty Logan's writing. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. Her characters are amazing.
Seems like there's some nice imagery in her books.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Plus, circus is always so much fun to read about. I love circuses.
It's interesting how a lot of people really like circus things. Like the Night Circus was very popular. A lot of circus-esque books.
Yeah, so this one, loved it so much. Very much recommend that one. Also The Gloaming, brilliant book.
Yeah.
Loved it as well.
Same author.
Yeah,
Kirsty Logan.
Yeah.
Go and look.
So get onto that one. Then I've got, which...
I think you have Normal People.
Normal People. Wow.
Sally Rooney.
That was a... Yeah. So Normal People by Sally Rooney, which everyone's been talking about.
Yes, I still haven't read it.
So it is a coming of age book. It's a lot... What?
It's just whenever I hear coming of age...
Yeah, she cringes.
Now at the moment, just there's been so many movies and books, but if it's done well...
I believe this one is done very, very well. So we follow the characters from when they're like early teens,
Okay.
I think, or late teens.
Okay.
16, I think, maybe.
Okay.
I can't remember
That's okay.
exactly.
Teenagers.
Teenagers, all the way up to they've finished uni, so like early 20s.
That's interesting. It's not just like a 17-year-old, which is what's done a lot.
Yeah, right. So we follow them all the way through, which I was really interested in. Neither of us have gone to a traditional university before. So we haven't had that particular experience.
No, like living in a dorm.
Well, not even just like, I mean, yes, they do, but...
Because obviously the schooling system's not the same here. A lot of universities are everywhere, so a lot of people don't live on campus unless international students. But also, there's a lot of alternative universities, colleges...
I mean, this is...
in Australia.
So they go to Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland.
Ah, interesting.
I mean, it's in the UK.
Okay, yeah, in the UK. But it's a bit different here. So, yeah, I've been to a private college and an online uni, and you've been to other, like, institutes that do qualifications, but not at a university level.
Not degrees, yeah. So,
so they're in Dublin and they're off in university.
Yeah, so in high school he's really popular but she isn't, and then it
switches.
Yeah,
which it happens.
Which you can tell because like these are the people that he's grown up with, so they know him, so they know what he's like.
Yeah.
And now suddenly he's in this new environment and he doesn't really know how to navigate it and how to make friends because he hasn't really had to do that. And she's sort of like thriving with like the arty type community because she's a bit more unusual and odd, and it's their relationship either as friends or as lovers or as friends with benefits or actually in a relationship or so it's like a long character study with these two.
Which can be good.
It is. My opinion, it was very good.
Yes, because there's a lot of complaints sometimes about plot versus character development, and I think if character development is done well, you can tell a story without much plot.
The plot is that it's them growing up.
Yeah, see, exactly.
Broadly speaking, it's them growing up, both as individuals and together, and the relationships that they have with other people and how it shapes them, and it can get pretty nasty sometimes, and so very, 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 very well done in my opinion.
That's good.
So I think you would really like it.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot about it and I want to read it. I just I got there.
I haven't read Conversations with Friends yet, so that's another book by her.
Yes, I think I've heard something about Sally Rooney's other books not being as well received. Is that the case?
No. So
maybe I'm mixing it with another author.
Well, what I have heard is that it kind of like will depend on which book you read first, which one you love more.
Oh,
I see. That kind of thing.
No, okay, yes, that's probably what I heard.
No, definitely Conversations with Friends was very well received.
Okay, yep.
But yeah, so that was that one.
Nice.
And then I'll move on to both Grief is the Thing with Feathers and Lanny by Max Porter, which both of them I really, really loved. So
I remember you talking about
starting with Lanny, I don't want to give anything. I wonder if I should. No, I won't say that because it might spoil things. But Lanny is a little boy who is quite unusual. He's living in his own world, and he is makes friends with this older artist who's sort of doesn't. Oh no, he is currently. Anyway, so he makes friends with this artist that lives in their village. They've moved to this sort of small town village in England.
Okay.
And the mom, it's very much like Broadchurch, like that style.
I remember you saying this, that feeling of a small coastal town.
And we follow, the boy, not the.
If you're not sure,
it's not the same story as Broadchurch, which is the little boy gets murdered, and that's where we get into it.
It's on Netflix. If you don't know what that is,
this is not a spoiler, so don't. Yeah, but it's very similar in the feel because we follow the mother's life, her life, and the father's life.
So different story perspectives.
Yeah, and you can see from their different perspectives how they view their child and how
Nice.
Anyway, it's very, very well written and put together, and the gems that Lanny comes out with are brilliant. It's like wisdom from out of the mouths of babes. It's very, very nice.
That's
and the
funny.
relationship with the artist, and because Lanny will gets art lessons from this older artist guy.
Sorry, excuse me.
And they develop a really good friendship, and so yeah, it's just really
Nice.
sweet and nice.
Sounds like a kind of like a feel good.
Yeah, look, there's things that
Of course,
happen.
things will happen in a book.
And it's life, and it's pretty
Life is a bit hard.
sad, and this and that happens.
Right.
And,
Okay.
but yeah, no, it's really, really, I loved it. And so immediately after that, I went into Grief is the Thing with Feathers, which is very sad. We don't have any of the character names. None of the characters are named.
I remember this.
The mother dies, and so we follow the father and the two boys, and them grieving, and the process of them coming to terms with it and moving forward, and like day to day, how do you carry on? And very well written. I really, really loved it. Very short, that one. Yeah.
Nice.
So both of them are quite short, but very powerful, very impactful.
Very nice.
I still think about them.
Yeah, well, that's the marker of a good book. I keep thinking about The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle and how he constructed it. So yeah, I always think the more you think about a book, I'm like, oh, that was awesome, the better the book was.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like, especially like if your opinion changes of the book over time as well. Like if you're like, oh, I didn't really see that part, and I didn't really get along with that, and then you're like, no, actually, the more I think about it, the more like, I get it, and
I understand.
Yeah. So, talked about that. Okay, so the last book I have to talk about is one that I did not enjoy. So let's end on a downer, apparently. I didn't plan it this way. So the last book was The Last Days of New Paris by China Miéville.
Yep, I remember you not being happy with this one.
No. So generally speaking, I don't enjoy books about war or set in war, and in particular like the Second World War. I think I've just been so saturated and so like there's just it's just too much. It's too much. That I've had to read or watch or study
at
or
school,
like it's just there's so much out there that I've definitely reached my threshold. Knowing that, I went into this book thinking, let's see, okay, let's give it a go.
Knowing that, I went against my instinct.
Yeah, exactly. This, for me, the part where there's war was not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem for me was the writing, the characters.
And okay.
The whole system, the whole setup, it just didn't really get me. It didn't make a lot of sense. It's like a science fiction fantasy book. The basic story, which if I can even remember it, I got lost so many times, but I really couldn't be bothered to go back again and go, what is actually happening? Because I just which might have.
If you can, because you've read other China Miéville, like Paradiso Street Station, and The Kraken.
I haven't read that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Paradiso Street Station, for
I'm busy
example,
reading that, yes.
You like it?
Yes, I do.
What is it, do you think, about the writing that's not working?
Okay, so what...
Can you say what you mean by bad writing?
Okay, so what he's done in this book is... Let me think. Okay, so it is set in Paris, and there are two different Parises.
Okay.
There's the one Paris which is 1950, and there's the other Paris which is 1941 or something like that.
Okay.
And
so set in different time periods.
Different time periods, same Paris. The one Paris is like an alternate version of the regular world, where we've got these creatures, I think, and the Nazi, it's the Nazi occupied, and they are using these creatures to kill people.
Or experiment.
For experimentation. Okay. And they're weird, like, dream creatures. I don't even understand what they were supposed to be.
Was it because it was written confusingly?
Yeah, okay, so I didn't understand, like, I don't know if it was just something I was missing.
Okay.
But I couldn't get a handle, even on the occasions when I did go back and be like, let me just see if I can get this again.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get it. I couldn't get a solid grasp of what was happening.
Okay.
Who people, like, what is going on in this book.
Okay.
On top of that, there was a lot of listing of names and name dropping.
Right.
So we've got the Resistance, who's a bunch of poets and artists and things, and it's very much like just listing famous authors and artists and poets.
Okay, yeah, so you tune out.
And I'm just like, I'm not really interested in reading or / listening to lists and lists of famous authors that you really should know about,
so
and I don't.
Yeah, so I would imagine it obviously...
It felt elitist
you need some...
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so you need some previously assumed knowledge, possibly. Lots of name dropping, which is hard to follow at the best of times. It's like
I can't handle it.
Mythos, which is very good, but like to keep track of all the names and who's who, I was like, whoa, this is confusing.
Yeah. No,
so that can be confusing as well. And then obviously maybe if there's too much going on and the way it's written isn't being like solidified for you as a story, then maybe that's what the issues are.
Because I've read a lot of science fiction and fantasy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of
you've
like
read China Melville before.
Well, I'm busy reading it.
Exactly.
So, and there's a lot of like confusing and stuff that you're not, familiar with because it's not our world.
Sci-fi,
yeah. So there's a lot of stuff and creatures that are new to you.
Yeah.
And he's done a really good job in Perdido Street of saying, well, we've got these creatures, but this is what they're like.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like
and
a
this
description.
Is where you stand.
Yeah.
Whereas
here's the information you need to get through the book.
For these creatures didn't come until like much later, and by that time my head was so foggy about what was going on and who was who and what was happening, and it's not even that long.
Okay.
It's not even a long book.
Alright.
So it really...
Well, it just didn't do it for you, obviously.
Oh.
If anyone else has read it, let us know in the comments below and tell us what you think. Maybe Billy is right, or maybe gotta try again, or maybe you love it, or maybe you hate it. Let us know. No, but like I say, like maybe someone's like, yeah, it happened to me too. I had to read it again and then I got it. Like maybe it's a confusing novel or something.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I'm just gonna stick with Perdido Street and like the other ones.
And check out the Kraken.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna leave that one alone because I think that one was absolutely not for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's everything that I read in April.
Yep, so that's quite a few for you, one for me. April has been a bit of a crazy month for us.
You mean May?
April and May. I was going to say and into May.
Oh,
yes.
I interrupted.
April and into May has been a little crazy. Yeah, Billy's started a new job at a library. which is good.
But it's taken a lot of time.
It's taken a lot of time. It's tiring to start a new job, of course. And I have been having trouble staying awake.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've been having a few things happening, but we are glad to be back.
Yep.
Into YouTube and Instagram. And hopefully, it will become a bit more regular. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. We'll do our best.
Yeah.
No promises.
No. Absolutely no promises. No commitments.
No expectations. No. That's what we like. Exactly. Is just 0 expectations.
If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. If you don't,
oh well.
But
yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed this very long rambling video.
Wouldn't be that without us.
Tune in again at some
whenever
point.
That is.
For the next
Actually,
one.
we also had a lot of glitches with our editing suite.
Oh my god.
We have a library vlog sitting in the editing suite, which I have been trying to work out for literally the last period of time that we haven't been on. because obviously that was the next video to go up. So hopefully we can sort those issues out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have obviously because this is up, but
yeah, no,
the library vlog will come too, which was filmed quite a while ago. So look forward to that when it eventually hits.
We were so much younger then. month ago.
A month. Yeah.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and comment if you've read any of these books, if you have any suggestions, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.